greatest economic drivers of our community. So, I'm a lawyer, been in practice for 5 years, prosecutor at the DA's office, where I currently handle violent crimes and sex cases. Any questions?
From my seat, the Port Commission is perhaps the most effective driver of economic activity in our community. How do you think your professional experiences have prepared you to serve on that board?
My professional experiences, I don't believe that's the vein. I believe I offer the greatest impact. I believe it's my understanding of, or my appreciation for our community and for our city, and being able to identify opportunities within our city. I think that we have a lot of potential in having someone on the Port Board that understands that we need to be drawing businesses to our city, as well as promoting businesses within our city is a plus.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Those are all my questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Councilman Bradley?
I have no questions for Mr. Williams.
Okay. Councilman Fleury? Councilwoman Fuller?
You got it easy today.
Parker, where you at?
Didn't you hear him say he worked for the DA's
I'm
office?
through with that.
We know when to keep our mouth shut.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Those are all the appointees, Mr. Chairman, who are present today.
Okay. All right.
And we have, is Mr. Harris, anyone want to speak to Mr. Harris about property standards? Anything dealing with property standards?
Mr. Harris, I'll just say I appreciate your taking prompt action on some dumping adjacent to Magnet High School that I called to your attention at the last council meeting. This may be already something that property standards does, but I think we ought to pay particular attention to streets and neighborhoods immediately adjacent to our schools, and perhaps that's already a priority, but I hope to the extent we're making decisions about how to allocate resources, we give special consideration to areas near our public schools.
Will do.
Thank you, sir.
I just want to thank you because you've been very helpful to me the last couple of weeks. I received some notice from a constituent yesterday about tire dumping that you and the environmental task force have been helpful in alleviating, but it seems to be an ongoing problem in several different spaces, but he was really happy that additional cameras have gone up to kind of help with some of that issue in the Blue Goose area. And that's it for now.
Okay, thank
We'll be
you.
in touch.
It's an ongoing problem with the tire dumping. That's something that we are trying to attack.
Oh yeah, and thank you for the sweep and letting me know at the sweep the other day.
Okay. All right, Councilman Fleury.
Mr. Harris, I want to thank you for addressing those 6 issues that I brought to your attention. I'm saddened that we still don't have an answer on the Kimberly court case in the district court that came in there the first month of my service to the city in 2015. That case is still locked up over in district court, dead as a doornail, hadn't been moved forward, but you did your best to find out for me, and hopefully that someday before I leave here it'll be resolved. But thank you for getting the grass mowed over there.
Thank you.
You had 6 issues?
Hmm?
Let me just,
Mr. Harris, express my appreciation to you and your team for your efforts and the MLK Everest sweep on last Wednesday. We sort of followed around a couple of guys and just saw some activity. I got the numbers from Mr. Robinson in regards to the citations. Like I told them when I was speaking with them initially, that MLK is a different community. It's a challenged community. It was a parish community up until 40 years ago when it was brought into the city, and the standards was not afforded that community. So a lot of the violations, a lot of the areas that you recognize as violations, some of them are beyond their control because they did not have the infrastructure that the city had. And I wanted the the officers, the property standard officers, to be very conscientious of just not citing things that there was not violations, and some of the people, if they felt like that they was being unfair, being treated unfair. But I thought overall the sweep went well, and I saw some of the tires that was debris that was accumulated, and I appreciate that as well.
Thank you, and I appreciate you coming out.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
So, Councilman Bradford, you saying you want special treatment on the Clipper Road?
Mr. Chairman, I have never gotten special treatment, and I never afford to get special treatment. I said fair treatment, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
And when I say fair treatment, I'm saying the situations that you're afforded, and I don't have those same situations or those same things, and I'm just saying, unless you was a part of that environment, you wouldn't understand.
I guess I don't understand. I mean, I know that we want to, either we want things to be one way the whole way, and each are different.
But
or
the
does
city
it-
is not
different?
one way, Mr. Chairman.
It's not. But we got to start somewhere. I mean, we can't keep on saying, well, because MLK was this, MLK was that, and never try to incorporate them with the same standards that everybody else has. So we have to start somewhere, is what I'm saying.
No, I did not criticize Mr. Harris. What I said was, some of the residents felt like that they wasn't understanding that they don't have sidewalks. They don't have the amenities of the inner city that was developed within the city limits. And they, and the plight I mean, you can go in some of the areas that are still basically rural, and we can fill up 20 dump trucks with debris and trash that are just out there. I mean, and he understands that. And I'm saying, so we can't just blanket that area as a one-size-fit-all area. But again, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate your comments, but at the same time, I think we'll just make it work, And I guess my expressions are part of my disappointment that the bond proposal, which would address some of the issues that I'm referring to, was defeated. Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your service. Mr. Clark, did you have anything that you wanted to? Okay. All right. We should have gotten out. We did get a financial report. Mr. Thompson, is there any legislation to be added today?
No, sir.
All right. And we have the following request to speak.
Mr. Ken Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, Mr. Chairman, council members, Mayor. Start out with a thanks to the jurors of the
Mr.
Thomas
Kraft, I've been admonished. to
157
request. Thank you,
Archer, again, 71105. Thank you to the jurors for doing their civic duty in the trial of Grover Cannon for police officer Thomas LaValle. It takes too long, but let's hope a correct sentence is given. 56 years ago today, we lost President Kennedy. The thought for today in the paper by Kennedy is, a man does what he must in spite of consequences, in spite of obstacles and dangers and pressures. This is the basis for all human morality. Just let that sink in. As Councilman Bradford said, a week ago Friday, even though the mayor was unable to attend, we had the all-day budget hearings for 2020. Pleased to hear most of it. The most upsetting thing I heard was from our Director of Community Development, Ms. Bonnie Moore, when I found out the Alice report jumped to 57% of our citizens at or below poverty. Kind of consistent with what we just heard. Whatever we can do to work against those horrible numbers. The election itself was interesting insofar as they all failed by small margins. The Proposition 3, the smallest, maybe 66 votes. I was studying some things and I noticed the Caddo Parish Commission lost .83 mills public facilities rededication back in April 20th, 17, by 16 votes, came back on the mayoral primary on November 6th and got 63%. Yes, there's no magic formula, no magic bullet. I think it ultimately comes down to a matter of trust in you and the police, fire departments. Remind you again, I was pleased to see the sales tax came in 4.4% up over last year for last month. It probably will come in $3.5 million at the end of this year above the budget. Please find some money in there for at least give these fine police officers and firefighters a one-time bonus, if not a 2.5% COLA. Of course, that has to be sustained by some future funding, so that's not there. And as far as the bond, obviously we can't have an election in March because the deadline for the bond commission is December 11th. That's impossible. I'm not sure we can do it in May, although that deadline of March 16th is possible. We just need to revisit. We need to list the streets. We talked about August 13th. Y'all passed Resolution 100, and we heard we're going to get a streets list. 3 months later, we voted without a streets list. That's essential. We got to go back and trim a little bit and maybe get it down from 186, a little bit less. And whenever y'all come back after it, we'll just try to do better. Thank you.
Mr. Rudolph Glass.
Rudolph Glass, 1735 Arlington, Shreveport. First of all, I want to mention the bond. You know, there was $36 million taken out of the bond for community development. Some of the issues was discussed earlier in the meeting. Also, housing programs, especially for the elderly, jobs and other programs that would help the community. I also heard the young man talking about tourists in Shreveport, tourism. That's, with the amount of shootings that we've had in Shreveport, you have people in Bossier City that don't want to come to Shreveport. So when you have it where you have all of these issues going on, people are not going to want to come to Shreveport for those various reasons. I was here last meeting, and you all were talking about the building on Kings Highway that had burned the old Long John Silver. Now, that building has not been like that for maybe about a year. But we have houses in neighborhoods that have been there for decades, that has deteriorated to the point where they're falling in, and nothing has been done. It is not that people haven't complained. For whatever reason, it has not been taken care of. So I'm just kind of wondering, why is there so much emphasis on this building and not other buildings in the community where people live every day? Also, you know, we talk about the city being broke, but we have so many different issues that would help, but nobody seems to even think about these things. You know, when I was coming up, we had different things that the city took care of. Now you have a lot of things being contracted out, where people are making money and the city is getting nothing. You have like, used to have towing for the city, where you can collect money for the towing as well as storage. You have, then when you have firms coming into the city of Shreveport, doing work, and they leave, the money goes with them. That money is never coming back to Shreveport. You also have, I know a lot of people not gonna wanna hear this, but you have department heads and other people work for the city that don't live in the city. They don't have a vested interest no more than a job. And they take money out of the city. They don't pay property tax here or anything. So it's a lot of things that could be done, but it has to be looked at. It has to be dealt with. I put it like that because I know it's been looked at before. And when you go back to do the bond.
Mr. Chairman, the speaker's time has expired, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Edward Jackson.
Hello, hello, hello. Hi, my name is Edward Jackson, and I stay at 1669 Easy Street. And I guess we're still speaking on the building that my friend Baby Savage is supposed to be building on. I don't know the exact details, but I do know he's a good person. I do know that whatever he puts his mind to, he use it to construct or better not only himself but others around him, such as myself, helping me get into my house, helping me whether I needed help on getting a car or something like that. He's always been somebody that I can rely on when I need it in good times and bad. So I really didn't have much to say, but I can say that he's a good man.
Thank you, appreciate you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Barry Austin.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Austin, is your counsel present as well?
No, sir. He provided me with the agenda, and it actually had me further down on the agenda. He asked me to text him when we were approaching that.
Well, I'll just say if you would like, your matter is on for introduction today. The
Yes, sir.
council's not gonna take any action, and so if you would prefer to wait for your lawyer to be here to make remarks on your behalf, I'd certainly welcome you to do that. It's your decision.
Yes, sir. It was my appreciation from what my lawyer told me that it was going to be heard on the December 10th for a hearing.
Yes, sir, that's my understanding from the clerk.
Yes, sir. My lawyer also provided me with a request, and I have 3 copies to provide with y'all. It's subpoenas. It's two requests that he provided me.
Why don't you provide those to the clerk of council, unless you want to make remarks now, which you
No,
may
sir.
prefer not to since you have counsel.
Yes, sir.
We'll let your lawyer make those remarks on your behalf. Okay?
Okay.
And provide your request to the clerk, please.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I don't have a clue, Mr. Chairman, what in the world that conversation
May-
was about.
may I-
Was it something, bought a new car or something? Somebody fill me in exactly what he came up to talk about.
Me too.
Councilman Fleury, if I may, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman. We have on our agenda a motion from the fire chief requesting that we extend the period for an investigation against this firefighter. He's represented by counsel. There is dispute regarding whether there was an agreement to extend the investigatory period. And there is further dispute, as I think, as to whether the council has the authority to extend the period if it has already expired. And so I think Mr. Brainerd, who represents our firefighter, is in the best position to fill us in on that.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Who was his counsel? What?
Aaron Brainerd is his lawyer. I understand.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there an agenda item on this?
Yes, it's on for introduction, Councilman Bradford.
Now it looks like nobody read the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Ricky Miley. And I apologize if I said your last name incorrectly. I believe that's
Ricky Miles, address 3806 Moore Road, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71109. I'm here to discuss the votes or whatever happened with the bond issues. I looked at that from a serious, perspective. Either the people have spoken, you are not listening, or you are not communicating what is necessary for us to do. We have serious problem here in Shreveport. And y'all are some of the brightest people that Shreveport have to offer. And if you can't figure that out, how you think the average person who do the 7 to 3 and 9 to 5, how you think they gonna get it right? We got crime, we got all kind, we got lack of job, we got all these different issues. But we are asking you to represent us to do and put forward a proposal that's gonna benefit all of us. There's no way that you have a certain amount of people in a certain area still existing in poverty unless it was by design. And if it was by design, you say you have nothing to do with it, it's by your nature to bring an end to it by any means that's necessary. Otherwise, you got to think outside of the box. You cannot continue to do what they did in 1960s, 70s, and 80s and 90s. There's something new that's got to be done in order to bring the people out of poverty. Begin to educate them. Begin to allow the young folks to have a dream again. Most of them don't even know what a dream is now, because the only thing they know is how to react. Because that's all they see you doing. We got crisis here. And you are the brightest. That's why we elect you. That's why we trust when we punch that box, say we want you to represent us, that this is what you're going to do. But when you fail to come up with a proposal that will benefit the parts of all of Shreveport, especially the poorest of the poorest, not only did the bill fail, but you failed. And I just say, shame on you for not doing a better job than that.
Mr. Versa Clark.
Mr. Chairman, was the clerk
trying to get your attention?
I'll wait until after all of the people speak.
Okay, the clerk was trying to get your attention.
I don't know about following all of this. Versa Clark, 7626 Tampa Way, Shreveport, 71105. I too am speaking on the new bond proposal. The old folks had an adage that said, what goes on in the night will surely come to light. As you prepare to draw up a new bond proposal, make sure you have the transparency that you promised the voters during the 2018 election. If you choose to have citizen input, giving clear instructions to what that committee or community effort should be is imperative. Had they known that they could not have added the $36 million in economic development funds, they may have chosen a different route. For instance, the total of the 3 propositions was $186 million, and that 16-member group might have found ways to include city and parish businesses to complete the projects, especially the 38.7% of African Americans that are living at or below the poverty level. Too many of the city's bond projects are given to outside contracts while the blight that you were to address continues. The 30 names on the Master Plan Community Advisory Group are probably friends, relatives, or neighbors of yours, and their time and effort should not be taken lightly, as well as the expense to the city for putting together this master plan. You are the body that adopted this particular plan, and we're just 11 short years away from investing in another plan. The real truth is we should be completing medium-term goals which were scheduled to be completed between 2016 2020, but all indications are we have not completed many of the short-term goals which were scheduled for the 2010 to 2015 timeframe. And why don't these bond proposals reflect the greater expectations of the master plan?
there was a reason why several months ago I read to you complete the vision of this plan. Oh yeah, about the 8 industries and the 1,200 to 2,400 jobs that the $36 million economic development proposal was to address. If private industry is still
Mr. Chairman, the
interested.
speaker's time has expired. Thank you, Mr. Clark, for your remarks. Well said as always.
Chair, may I? Mr. Versa?
Yes.
Will you submit a copy of your entire statement to us for the record?
Sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Bill Weiner.
Hello, I'm Bill Weiner. I live at number 2 Longleaf Lane, 71106. I'm here to talk about really 3 items, and I'll try to be as brief in just a summary. And if you want to talk about them later in more detail, I'll be happy to meet with any of you, anywhere, anytime. I'm going to start with the bottom one, which is Old Galilee Baptist Church. I have been involved in this except from when Hazelbeard tried to tear it down. And now you all have approached trying to fix it up. It has the potential to be a national landmark. The way it's done, I know about it because I was chairman of the board at the Department of Interior that gets it done, and I know what you got to do to get it through. And what is missing, we need to get some photographs taken of the interior and a little of the outside before the remodeling begins, because they need that when they're putting together their proposal to put it as a national landmark. And there's no funding for that. It would cost, I had it written down here. I think it's $2,400, $2,500. And it needs to be done very soon to get this documentation that would be part of the application to become a national landmark. We have one national landmark in Shreveport. That's McNeil Street Pumping Station. And I was the one that got it on and got it through, and the city had nothing to do with it. The mayor just had to sign it. And so the reason it is so important, Galilee is the most significant historical, cultural building in Shreveport. It's there where half of our population learned how to peacefully integrate. They held classes and it worked. The next thing I want to talk about is Fire Station number 8, which I talked to you before, which you traded to Willis Knighton so that you could build a new fire station. That building is a National Register property. It was not fully disclosed, and in the proposal on the trade to make it financially equal, it was proposed to be torn down. I think it was a mistake. I don't think you had sufficient information to make informed decisions. And with the bond issue failing, there's no money to build a new one probably. So I would ask you to reconsider this whole thing and try to fix it up. And the future bond issues must have an element for maintenance. So many of these problems that you've been facing and I've been facing have been because of deferred maintenance.
Time has expired. Thank you, Mr. Weiner, very much. Mr. Lester Smith.
Mr. Weiner, we have a copy of your statement too. We all have it.
Yeah, that was just my notes to me.
Thank you.
But I can give it to you in detail, so it's just reminders.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Lester Smith, 4148 Theo Street, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71109. I'm here also to speak on the bond issue, but I'm speaking on the Pacific part of the bond issue, the $36 million that was withdrawn from the bond issue. And we're serving notice that if you're going to present another bond issue in the spring of the year, or whenever you decide to present a bond issue, there must be a part of that bond issue that deals with the lack of economic problems in the African American community. We're asking for, and I hear this number today about the 57% poverty level, and we constantly brag about we are the majority. We're the majority of the poor because we're not included in anything else. So I'm saying if a bond issue comes before us again and it does not have something where the economic conditions in the African American community are better, we're not going to vote for it. Now, we are used to roads being overlaid. We're used to all the issues that were in the previous bond. But we have to fight like hell to get whatever's promised to us. And then after all the fighting, we still walk away with nothing. And it has nothing to do with this body up here. It has a whole lot to do with the people in the community, because we sit back and allow the misrepresentation, the misleaders to do as they please where we are concerned, and then we gripe and fight among ourselves. I'm not coming down here for 3 minutes to talk or 3 minutes to be on camera. I'm coming down here because there's an issue in the community that's hurting the African American community. It hurts the whole of Shreveport, because when people don't have, it may be in Moortown today, but it trickles to other areas. So if you're not talking about some economic empowerment with that 36 million, at least half of that money, if not all, going to the African American community, we're just not going to be happy. And we're tired of you all making decisions for us and not including, not even having the common courtesy to see where we stand on issues. You're inviting us to dinner, to our favorite meal, and you haven't even taken the common courtesy to ask what I like. And so we're tired and we're not going to take it anymore. So we're serving notice that, you can put whatever you want to put before us. We're not going to take this anymore. You cannot continue to just put stuff and ram it down our throats as if we don't matter and say we're the majority and we're supposed to have this, and we have the majority of nothing in this city. We're fighting for what we fought for in the 60s, before civil rights. We're fighting for the same things. We're always up here begging, give us a fair share. We don't need to ask you for a fair share. That should be a given based on the leadership. We have 4 black people on this council, and look like somewhere in the interim they would have recognized the needs in the black community, because they haven't changed. And I thank you all for your time.
Mr. James Robinson.
My name is James Robinson. My address is 434 Choctaw Trail, Shreveport, Louisiana. As I stand this afternoon to listen to all the things that have been said, I came here and I moved back home in 1981. I was raised on the Cooper Road, Martin Luther King area. And when I moved back here, it had become part of this city. I haven't seen not much of nothing done in our area. But you've been getting the tax money from that area. And every time somebody comes and say something about it, y'all seem to get upset about it, just like you did a few minutes ago. When I don't know who was talking to you, Councilman Bradford. I don't know if that was that you, yeah. We ought to be. You say what you wanted, but we ought to be. We've been left out for over 40 years. So you can make that joke if you want to, but it ain't no joke.
It wasn't a joke.
But I'm letting you know we real too. Because y'all get what y'all want, but we don't get what we want. And let me tell you something. A lot of things, a lot of jobs that can be taken care of and help with other people going to work and being paid a bare minimum wage. Let me tell you why. I have come back here and started work as a contractor, and paid all the guys that work for me $10 an hour or more and got work done. And there's something we got turned down on because you said we couldn't do it. I'm the one that putting the proposal together. I know what it takes to do it, but you said we couldn't do it. Cedric Glover, when he was the city councilman, y'all had, there was some bond money came available to help take care of the property up on the, in the low income areas. When I put forth mine, he told me that I couldn't get it done. Well, if I can't get it done, why am I gonna add it all up and put it together and tell you I can work, fix each house, repair each house for this amount of money, and you gonna tell me I can't do it and you don't know nothing about it. You don't even know how to do the job, but you gonna tell me that. It's wrong. Y'all know y'all wrong. That's all of y'all wrong. Because y'all won't stand up and do the right thing. You say one thing and you do another. Job training, hands-on, is the best training you can give a person. I'm telling you what I know. There's some guys that I hired to work for me didn't know nothing, but they know how to build a house right now, because I taught them. So don't tell me that it can't be done. Y'all need to listen to what we got to say, like you listen, when it's time for y'all to get elected in these offices. You take time and come out to our communities and talk to us. Put me in office. And then when we put you in there, you don't do nothing. We're tired of that. And that bond issue, y'all, it's sickening. It's sickening. It's sickening. We are tired of that.
Mr. Chairman.
The next time from here on out, when y'all want to do something, y'all take time out and come to us and sit down and discuss to us and tell us what you need, and then we'll dump that work with you, and then when we do that, don't come out here and tell us you're going to do one thing, then you come down here and y'all get together and then lie about it and come back and give us a false lie about it.
All right.
We don't want to hear that.
Your time has expired. Thank you.
Mr. Bev Francis.
Good afternoon. I'm Bev Francis, 112 East Pecan, San Antonio. I'm the attorney for SBA Structures. Pleasure to appear before you again. For over 25 years, I've been representing telecommunication companies and tower infrastructure builders. In addition, I've represented many applicants and appellants on land use cases. And during this period of my career, I've never seen a situation where a council has sought to rescind its own decision, particularly in a land use case. And why is that so rare? Why is that such an odd occurrence? Well, the reason is a rescission is an extremely harsh action. It creates massive amounts of uncertainty on your applicants, your appellants, when they come before you either to appeal a decision, as SBA did, or they come before you to request permission under an application for a special use permit. There has to be finality. After decisions and times have been spent to educate not only the community but also the council, there has to be finality. So what has happened in the last 30 days to cause a motion to be placed on the agenda to rescind your decision? I tell you what hasn't happened, and that was what was discussed openly by you and recommended to Hemphill. Apply, reapply, meet with Mr. Clark, meet with the consultants, find out what you need to do to make a better application that complies, that gives you the opportunity to approve it and for them to prove the need for that tower. But I will tell you what has happened in the last 30 days. What happened 2 days ago is you got sued. Hemphill sued you in district court to ask the district court to overturn your decision. That's what's happened. They've taken that step during 29 days go by, no positive movement to do the right thing and to prove a need. Let me read you a couple of the statements if you hadn't had the chance to see the petition. The council acted arbitrarily and capriciously in denying the application. You acted arbitrarily and capriciously and unbelievably and painfully in front of Mr. Clark. I read you the following. Despite the poor handling of the application by the MPC staff and the unanimous approval by the MPC, The council arbitrarily and capriciously relied on the recommendation of the MPC staff in direct opposition to the decision of the staff's supervisors and employers, the MPC, and this is unbelievable. In essence, denying Hemphill's application because of the MPC staff's either inexperience, incompetence in handling the case. They sued you as opposed to doing the right thing and reapply. We respectfully request that a motion to rescind your October 22nd action not be placed on the decision, on the December 10th agenda. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Francis, thank you for being here. And I won't comment on the pending litigation other than to say that I have full confidence in the MPC's director and his staff, and it is disappointing to hear their good work characterized in that manner. You and I are both members of the bar and know that lawyers take a free hand in characterizing their adversaries and their opponents' actions, but I certainly very strongly disagree that the council acted arbitrarily and capriciously, or that the MPC staff did other than an excellent job in attempting to resolve in a fair and impartial manner this important matter. I appreciate your calling to the council's attention the fact that the city of Shreveport has been sued since the city council made its decision concerning this matter. That is an action that cannot be undone. That is an action that was taken in reliance upon the council's prior action, and for that reason, I think whether the motion that has been suggested is procedurally proper merits the council's careful consideration. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nicholson. And if I may, I feel the same way as I mentioned to you all about the quality of the people and your staff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Alvin Meester.
Good afternoon, Alvin Meester, 909 Poydras, New Orleans, Louisiana. This afternoon, I'm going to address some of the procedural legal issues regarding item 14B, the motion and the notice of the motion to rescind. We feel that this is an inappropriate procedural device. The code, the city code and the UDC are clear with the procedure on how MPC hearings and appeals are held. There's an MPC hearing. If someone wants to appeal, they appeal to the city council, and then if there's a problem, they can appeal to district court. Frankly, that's what has happened. The Hemphill has appealed to district court. That is what they followed. That is the procedure that is contemplated by the code, and we would recommend that that procedure be followed. Because there's a clear procedure, there is no reason to apply or to appeal to Robert's Rules of Order. That's that's where this motion to rescind is coming from. In the procedure for the city council, there's a backdoor provision that references the Robert's Rules of Order, but that's only if the code doesn't address the procedure. We feel that the code addresses the procedure, and there's no reason to incorporate provisions from Robert's Rules of Order. Kind of a technical argument, but we feel that it's inappropriate. There's a procedure that exists. Hemphill has already followed it. Also, we feel that rescinding, having a motion to rescind is bad policy. It shows a lack of respect for the prior process, and it shows a lack of respect for the express process in the code. It may be a bad precedent, not maybe, it is a bad precedent because the council has acted that this could happen over and over and over. Someone gets a few extra votes, reconsider. Someone gets a few extra votes, reconsider. When would it end? Also, we're unaware that it's ever been used in Shreveport. That should also tell us something. Specifically, the Section 411 that is being relied upon and incorporating that Robert's Rules of Order that I mentioned before, that only deals with procedural matters. How you table something, how you ask for a previous question, that minutia that you probably learned when you started on the board. We feel that it doesn't apply.
Mr.
And
Meester, I am charged with being consistent, so I
Understood.
advise the chairman that your time has expired.
Thank you.
Members of the council, I want to speak at this time. We either operate by Robert Rules of Orders. Sir, I'm through with you. You can sit down. Gentlemen, and ladies, Madam Councilwoman Levette Fuller, we either operate by Robert Rules of Order or we don't. I went to the city attorney. I followed protocol. I went to the clerk of the council. I simply made a mistake and was honest. I got confused. And that's the reason I asked to follow the procedure and Robert Rules, and it gave me some relief to correct the mistake that I made. And I was honest. I said I got confused and I voted wrong. This may pass and it may not, but in my heart, I will know that I have done the right thing to try to correct the error that I made. This gentleman here talks about Robert Rules doesn't apply. Well, what does? If I didn't do this on my own. I went to our very well able city attorney. I went to the clerk of the court. I didn't dream this stuff up. I asked for a remedy to correct the mistake, the error that I made. And that's all I'm saying to you. I tried to follow the procedure that would help me correct the error. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I will say that although I've expressed an opinion concerning the motion, I certainly don't in any way fault my good friend and colleague, Councilman Fleury, for bringing this motion. I understand that he did so following consultation with both the city attorney and the clerk of council, and so I appreciate his remarks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, let me also just, and the councilman, I think expressed what I was going to refer to the council clerk and the attorney about, and that was the legality of the motion. Now, I want to say that this council does not fully operate under Robert Rules of Order. We operate under council rules, which is a modification of Robert Rules of Order. There's certain aspects of Robert Rules that we follow. There's some, but the council have its own rules that has been adopted, and which governs our activities. Now, and if the motions is in order, I would certainly support it. But my question that I need the council clerk and the attorney to address is that the time frame in which this is happening, because on an ordinary, we are within the council rules have the preview to reconsider our votes in the meeting in which we make those votes. Now, oftentimes, after 10 days after we adjourn a vote, if it's applicable, then that motion or that legislation prevails and goes into effect. So there are times where a motion to reconsider would not be applicable because it has went through the process of becoming a policy or law. So I need at the proper time the council, the attorney, to give me if this action that is being proposed is within the preview of the gentleman's request, and I think we can clarify that at that time.
Councilman Bradford, I certainly understand. I have the theory that if the glove don't fit,
you must have quit.
Thank you.
Well, anyway, I just wanted to be clear that we're not mingling law. Okay. But thank you, sir, thank you.
All right, no one else to speak?
Mr. Chairman, those are all the questions to speak.
All right. There are no items on the consent agenda for introduction to be adopted. Mr. Thompson, can we start with the regular agenda legislation?
Mr. Chairman, the first item is Resolution 132. It was postponed, it has been postponed until December the 10th. There is no reason to take any action on that. 137 amends Resolution number 20 of 2013, which was adopted to amend the intergovernmental agreement with the City of Bossier City, Parish of Caddo, Parish of Bossier, and the Shreveport-Bossier Convention and Tourist Bureau relative to the Shreveport-Bossier Sports Commission.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Nicholson and second by Councilman Bradford. There's no discussion, please vote. Motion carries with 6.
Resolution 139 authorizing to the Louisiana Department of Natural Resources, Louisiana State Mineral and Energy Board to seek public bids for an oil, gas, and mineral lease involving the property located in districts A, F, and G, and described herein, and to execute the lease for certain mineral interests owned by the City of Shreveport, and to authorize the mayor to execute any and all documents related to the intent of this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Bradford, second by Councilman Green. If there's no discussion, please vote. And that motion